Welcome to the American Contractor Show, the show that's all about American contractors living the American dream. I'm your host, John Dye. Each episode will introduce you to contractors just like you who have beaten the odds and leveled up their game to become the dominant force in their markets. Together, we'll explore the tools and tactics that unlock the secrets to their success. Join me as we begin the journey that leads to the realization of your American dream. Good morning or afternoon, guys. Welcome to the American Contractor Show. I'm your host, John Dye, and it's so good to be with you guys on this Tuesday, day after Labor Day. You know, long weekend. Everyone's getting back into the swing of things. I keep thinking it's Monday, but it's actually Tuesday. And so it's an interesting week for sure. It's one of those weird weeks of the year, but so good to be here. I hope everyone had an amazing weekend, got to spend time with family. The official end of summer. I'm sorry. That's a sad thing to talk about, but it's the reality and kind of the final push here, guys. Like, this is it. Time to get all that stuff done that we've been trying to get accomplished all year. And there's going to be a lot of interesting discussions, I'm sure, in the next few weeks. And we're going to see a lot of roofs being built, a lot of projects getting wrapped up that need to get wrapped up before the official start of winter happens. I mean, heck, I heard that Denver was getting snow today. I mean, it was like 100 degrees over the weekend, and all of a sudden now they're getting snow. So I don't know what to say about all that other than to say that, guys, this is the reality. This is life. So, but thank you guys for joining us today as we continue on this journey of building contractors, helping businesses grow and helping to educate and bring a whole new understanding of what being a contractor truly is in America. And so thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much to our sponsors, to Hail Trace, Contractor Coach Pro, C3 Group, Roof Scope, for all the stuff that they do to make it possible, to Atlas for all the cool stuff, plus the nice, cool swag they got here. We got some pretty cool swag from them over the weekend. I'm so thankful for that. Thank you, Atlas, for that. And so it's always a pleasure to be with them. But today we have a really fun guest with us and someone that I really look up to and admire in our industry. And I'm excited that he's here. He just took a little bit of a sabbatical for a few days and went off into the wilderness and decided to write a book. And so now he's going to join us today. And I'm excited that we get to be the first place to really talk about this publicly. And welcome to the show, the one and only Contractor Coach Pro, Mr. Jim Johnson himself. Jim, thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, John, good to be back. I kind of confused some people when I said I had a big announcement I'm leaving. They didn't realize I was coming back. So,
I wonder how many people watched that just for that one part right there.
Yeah,
so I'm sure it was very well watched.
Yeah, it's had it's had almost 10,000 views at this point. So
I'm sure it does.
That was pretty crazy.
So everyone thought it was AccuLinks all over again. So it's good to have you, though. No, and I'm glad you're not leaving. I'm glad that you went off and did what you did, because I think this has been quite the journey for you as far as writing a book goes.
Yeah, it was pretty weird, actually. I got back, and some of the people that I had told I was leaving didn't realize I was actually writing a book. And so when they found out that I was writing a book and I actually finished it, they're like, "Who the hell writes a book in 2 weeks?" That's not like physically possible. I'm glad I didn't talk to him first, because then I would have had a belief that maybe a book couldn't be written. But 12 days, 12-hour days, and kind of got it put together.
Well, and you've done such a great job with it. I'm not going to divulge too much about it, but I will say this. I did get a chance to look at it thanks to you. And bro, this is revolutionary. Contractors, you guys, this is one of those things that can change an entire industry. And I believe this 100%. And after looking through it and reading it and understanding the concepts behind it, yeah, it's great for contractors, but it's great for business people in general. Plus Jim Johnson, doesn't that already sound like an author? I was thinking about that when I was reading. I'm like, this sounds like this is a guy that should be writing a lot of books. So I'm really impressed. I was like, this is what I wish I had 10, 20 years ago when I was younger and was trying to build businesses. I would have been so much more successful in life.
Well, I think that's kind of the key to the whole thing is I'm a reader. I love to read, and I'm a gatherer of knowledge. Hopefully at some point it'll give me some wisdom. And I noticed as I was reading that there was like no order to things. You're just kind of picking things up here and picking things up there. And this may be the thing that's kind of pressing my business right now. So I'm going to read a bunch of books on that. And there was nothing out there that really said, hey, you should do these things that are the different strategies for your business in this order so that you can maximize the full effect with your business. And so that's what we decided to write, is to put those things in that order so you can see them for what they are and how they interact with each other.
Yeah, and I totally agree, and I think that that was one of the things that I found to be so interesting. So let's back up for a second, though. What made you want to go off and write a book? I mean, you've been training contractors, you've been coaching them for years, but to go off and write a book, this is a whole different animal here.
Well, it's funny. It's kind of a little bit about understanding who you are. And for me, if I'm in a place where it's my office, I have internet, I have my phone, I'm absolutely putting everybody else first as often as I can. As a matter of fact, I kind of write about that, this service aspect of who I am and what I'm about. And if I don't get myself in the right environment, I tend to lose focus on maybe some of the more important things that I might be working on for the bigger picture. And I also realize I work in sprints. I'm the type that can't, go for 3 years and dabble at something and get it done. It's like, all right, I'm going to go do this thing. It's going to be 2 weeks and I'm going to finish it. And whenever you put that kind of level of accountability on you, that's why I posted the whole video. Like, hey, I'm going to post this video. It's going to make me accountable. And I'm not going to sit out there and just fish and check out the chipmunks. I'm going to actually write this book. And sure enough, it got partially goal accomplished. The goal was to go and write about all 12 strategies, but what we found out was in the first 4 days, I already had 40,000 words written. The average book out there on New York Times bestseller is 50,000. And I know this isn't a New York Times bestseller, but I want it to be a book that people will read, and I don't want them to have to carry it around with a forklift. So we're going to do 2 volumes. We're going to do volume 1, volume 2. And this first one is all about foundational stuff, all the things you got to do first. And I promise you, book 2 will be out before you're ready for it.
Man, I'm excited about book 2, but book 1 in itself, I think, is just revolutionary. It's such a game changer. Some of the things that caught me off guard when I was reading it was just the general essence of what we see the contracting industry at right now and where it's really going to go, especially for those contractors that are following these steps. The sky's the limit for them. I mean, this is the true American opportunity right here within our country that you can actually take advantage of this today, become a contractor, become really good at build in those systems and processes that you talk about, and you can build a business that is going to be fundamentally sound, that is competing with other businesses, that is like, it's kind of like looking behind the curtain at what the future is for our industry by reading this book.
I mean, what other industry can you go and build an 8-figure business in the first 3 years? I mean, it's not something that exists out there, and at least not normally. And so in our world, being able to do that, if you understand the right procedures, the right strategies, the right tactics, you can be pretty successful with it.
Tell me a little bit more about why you decided to write this in this order. Like, is this the stuff that you've been teaching contractors already for years, essentially?
Yes and no. So whenever I first got into coaching, there was about 8 things that I knew that these things were things we had to do. You had to have good culture. You had to have the ability to train well. You had to be able to hold people accountable. You needed systems and processes. You need some type of sales system to train people to. You need to know how you're going to market what it is that you're going to do, how you're going to produce it, and how to recruit and hire and onboard. And as we started coaching, we found out there were a few other things that were really important. One of those I already knew, which was finance, but I am not your finance master, which is why we brought Jenny on as our finance coach. And then you also have leadership. Leadership is something that came to us a little bit later because we said, hey, if we can help these guys build good culture, everything's going to be great. And what we came to realize is if we didn't have good leaders on our hands, they wouldn't follow through. They wouldn't get things done. They wouldn't build that culture. They wouldn't execute on these things. And a lot of that's because they don't understand what kind of leader they are. If you don't know what kind of leader you are, it's very hard to take that type and personality that you are and manifest that in a way that your company is going to be successful.
Yeah, and I think that was so well covered in the book. I mean, I sat down with my wife and actually asked her, which one of these do you think that I am? And she told me, and I think I sent it to you in an email and told you I'm not going to spill too much of what I am here, but I was like, man, I got a lot of self-awareness here to do and a lot of work to do on myself and figure out where I am and what I need to be doing. But there's so many things that, as contractors, especially, I mean, you gotta think like this is especially those contractors that are like in the field all day swinging a hammer. I want to talk to them for just a second because I feel like they're the ones that they have so much creativity and they have so much they're such perfectionists because this is what I grew up around, that I know that at the end of the day, like to really accomplish what it is to take a business really requires so much self-awareness of yourself and understanding that you've got to like look beyond just the finished product or look beyond just the process of the product and look into the process of the business. And it's a whole different world. Everyone thinks, well, I can go off and why am I making money for this person when I can go off and do this on my own and make X amount of dollars more? But in reality, you're not understanding that there's so much more that goes into that than just going off and doing what you're currently doing now and just getting paid more for it. Running a business is a whole different beast.
Yeah, I could not agree more. It's really I actually pick up on that in the book a little bit that we're good at two or three things, and maybe it's just one thing. Like we're really good at using our hands and using a hammer and building something cool, or maybe we're good at sales in that, or maybe we're good at marketing or recruiting. But there's so much more to our business. There's really 12 of these strategies, 6 of them being foundational and another 6 of those being operational. And we have to build the right structure to build off of to build one of these great companies. And that really is all about the most important thing, which is the dream of that particular owner or contractor. And if your dream is just to build good quality, great stuff, and you love seeing the results of what your hands can create, you're probably not going to grow and scale very much, but you're probably going to be very happy, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're thinking that this business is more of a vehicle that you want to work on instead of in, hence the name of the book, then that's something that you're going to want to think about how you're going to set up situations where you can gain more capacity, be able to do more in less time.
Yeah, and that's the reality of it. And this is something that I've struggled with in the past because I'm kind of the perfectionist. I want things done a certain way, creative. And, my dad was the same way as a contractor. My grandfather, I mean, they've all been this way. And so I'm the same way as them. And what I've learned, working here is that I can still be that way, but having that support and having those people around me that know that side of the business so well, I can really work off on my strengths so much better because I'm not focused on things that I'm necessarily weak at. Now, if I was by myself trying to run a business, I would have to be learning and developing these skills or bringing someone in to actually handle those parts of the business that I'm not particularly really that great at.
Yeah, it's knowing who you are. Like there's really three basic leadership types. You've got the person that's the visionary. You hear a lot. Maybe you hear it called dreamer. I think the first person that came up with this was Gino Wickman from the book Traction, and he uses that term visionary. And then these companies that grow really big, they're usually paired with somebody that in his book he calls them an integrator, but in our book we call them a distiller. And there's a big difference to me that's important to understand is integrator takes whatever your ideas are, puts them into play, builds a process and system, and implements them. Where a distiller is even more valuable because they listen. They're listening to what that visionary is saying. They're seeing the big picture all together, and they're pulling out the pieces that have the real value in it, and then adding the ingredients to it and distilling it down to what the ideal thing is going to be that helps that business grow. And I think a lot of people see this, I don't know, almost like this glory part in being the visionary, and they discount the value of being that implementer or integrator or distiller. You'll hear them called all three different things, when that person is really the key. That person is the key to getting it done, but they are both of equal value, because without the visionary, that creativity and those ideas and those opportunities wouldn't be there. And they understand that, but that's the key, is they understand the value of each other in the equation. And then when they really add in the what I call rocket fuel of understanding champions and seeing, hey, I need a champion for this thing that I don't have the time for. I promise you that Bill Gates didn't go out there and write everything that needed to be written code-wise to do Microsoft Office. He had champions for each one of those different aspects of their product. We have to see that in our business. Who's our champion? Who's our champion of culture? Who's our champion of technology? Who's our champion of fun? Who's our champion of just about anything? And whenever you start to realize that that's what you're looking for, these people to lead in those very specific areas that fit their talents, you can gain a massive amount of capacity to go and do more and grow your business.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that that's so fundamental to these businesses that are wanting to achieve whatever their goals are, is understanding these basic elements that will change the entire way the business is ran and operated. So I want to ask you, Jim. So you've written this book now. You've taken all this knowledge. You've written your first book. You still have another book to come. But based on this first book, now that you've got it all on paper, what do you think is one of the most things that you've gotten feedback on, or that have really stood out to you that maybe before you didn't think that it was resonating as powerful as it appears to be now?
I think on the leadership thing, understanding how those things tie together, that there's three real aspects of that we need to consider. What type of leader we are, which we just talked about. We talked about the three different types of leaders and knowing what part you play. And then you have your leadership personality, which I don't think I've ever heard anybody dissect. And I'll give Nathan Thibodeau a lot of credit here. He came to me one day and he goes, "Are there good leaders and evil leaders?" And I'm like, well, I don't know. He goes, "You hear the terms good and bad all the time." And we started dissecting and really thinking about it. And if you really think about it, there is no such thing as a good or bad or evil or good leader. It all depends on whose side you're on. Like if you're on his side, he's a pretty good dude and he's helping me get to where I want to go. And so this concept of good and evil, or good and bad, versus great and poor, which is a good definition, is a great leader has a lot of people following him, and a poor leader has very few people following him. And that's the definition of leadership. Leadership is defined by your ability to motivate and inspire people to follow you after a unified goal. And if you understand that, there isn't really any good or bad. It's just whose side are you on? And now there's different ways of using your personality to be a part of that. It has to do with how you're motivated, what your internal nature is, and whether you're a people person or a goal person. And so we lay all that out in the book. And once you kind of see who you are personality-wise, then you can really hone in on what we think is maybe the most important part of the book, is understanding that the most important skill that you can have as a leader is this ability to connect and then to implement these 7 habits to ensure that you connect with your people. So we gotten a lot of really good feedback there. That was good, because it was a little bit of I wasn't what I intended to write when I showed up. But as I sat down, I prayed about it. I really thought about it. Really thought about why have I been able to get a lot of people to get on board with what I'm doing? Why are all these other people, you're looking at them, and why are they doing so well? They're able to connect what it is that they're after with you in a way that you want to be a part of it. because there's some benefit to you in the end. And if we understand those three things, that it's going to be a type of leader with a certain personality, and they're going to have a skill set and habits that they have, we wrap all those together, we can be a pretty darn good leader, and we don't need 9,000 things to try to remember how to be a great leader.
Right. And you're right. It starts there. It starts with that leadership aspect and the self-awareness. I keep saying self-awareness because I think it's one of the things that we've historically, as an industry, have had very little of. When we look at the way that our industry portrays itself and the things that happen, and don't get me wrong, there's always going to be a negative side to an underbelly to every industry. One of the things that we've been really very intentional about here is to focus on the positive and the growth and how to build and become better, and not focus on things that could possibly the underside, the bad side of an industry. And this is one of the things where understanding that, hey, look, this is the reality, this is who we are, this is what most of our businesses look like. How do we make them look like this? But most people don't take the time. They're so in their business that they haven't taken the time to step back and really work on it, like your book says. And understanding that leadership quality is massively crucial. And then one of the things that I really liked about the book too was that once you get past understanding yourself as a leader, you got into like tactical, like, okay, this is what this needs to look like. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. And you called us out too for some stuff that I was really grateful to see, because our industry needs to hear some of the things that were said in there. And I don't want to spill too much because, like I said, it's your book. I want people to read it, number one, because I think it'll change their businesses. But number two, like, the stuff that was said there needed to be said, and it was said in such a great way. You did a phenomenal job of sharing that stuff with us. And so I really appreciate how you put all this together for us.
Yeah, that's been a little bit of feedback. Honest, it was sometimes vulnerable even for me. Like, I share some stories in there of my own personal struggles and trials as I've gotten to where I've gotten to. And I think we all go through some of that stuff. And this book is intended to help avoid some of that. Doesn't mean you're not going to have your trials and struggles as you go through, but this book should help you have different ones, I hope, at least. It was wild. First off, I grew a beard, which I have never had a beard. The only hair I knew I had before was dark, and it is no longer that, as you can tell. Maybe it was dark when I started and it turned gray. I don't know. But it was something that was important to me, to share this. And like you said, you guys focus on the positive, and that's how you go about doing what you do. It's part of your strategy and getting to where you're going to be. Where here we focus on how we serve. Like, we're going to serve this way, and we're going to do it in a way that exemplifies our core beliefs. And by doing things that way, if we do them right, we'll have more customers than we ever know what to do with. And so far, so good. This book is an example of that. This book is literally like, okay, I'm going to open up the closet, and here's what we do. And this is how we coach contractors. And we want you to be successful with it. It's important for people to understand. I think this is the other thing that people really recognized in this book. There's a difference between strategies and tactics. I think everybody gets those two things confused as like one thing. And in simplified terms, the best way for me to describe it is the tactic is what you see. You see this thing, you see this ad, you see my wrap truck, you see whatever it is that you see, but you don't see the strategy, how that stuff is all playing together. And there was always people that are like, hey, how'd you hire all these people? Well, I hired them exactly like this. This is how I did it. These were my tactics. They didn't understand the strategy behind that, of why we were hiring the way we were, how that tied into our training, how that tied into our culture, how that tied into our sales process and how we worked. Because they didn't understand that, they were never able to replicate it. And that's something that's hard to teach somebody, is strategy. You can teach them what those strategies are, but really you have to be kind of creative and think about, hey, okay, I understand these are the strategies. How am I going to make it uniquely mine? How am I going to use that information to truly transform my business and and win, because that's what strategy is all about. I'm here to win, and hopefully these contractors are as well.
No, I think they are, and I think a majority of them, that's their goal. I mean, you don't start a business with the hopes of just being like mediocre or just. I mean, I guess maybe some people do, but I don't. I haven't met them, or maybe they're just not great business owners yet. But I don't think a lot of people really have the dreams of just having a very marginally successful business. I mean, everyone's out there to make money. It's the goal. It's the dream, the American dream. It's part of what it is to be an American contractor, is to not just have a business, but have a business that's building a legacy and going to, leave something for your kids and leave something for future generations and change business and change the world around you, and hopefully make the world a better place. And I think that this is a very great example of how you can do that and what things you need to start thinking about and how much bigger that it is to build a business. But up until now, like I said, we haven't had this stuff. We haven't had these discussions. We haven't had we haven't had a book like this written, I don't think ever, in our industry that's going to go into it specifically for us the way that this has. And so, Jim, I really appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you taking the time to write this book, because I know it's not easy, but it was one of those things that I think is going to have very, very long-lasting, deep impact in our industry that we've desperately needed. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
No problem. It was awesome. I mean, come on, I was outdoors, middle of nowhere, no power. All I had was a solar panel, and it was
Yeah, we
cool.
had some solar panel discussions there about that.
Yeah, my solar panel
We got
was.
to nerd out a little bit.
Yeah, we got to have a little bit more power to the equation. But I saw
Yep.
4 people in 2 weeks, so that was really cool. Uh,
What's the goal? What's the goal with the book? What are you trying to accomplish here?
the goal with the book is to give people that are willing to invest the time in reading it the tools to go and be successful with their business. If for whatever reason they're not able to take that information, digest it, hold themselves accountable to getting it done, that's what we're here for, and we can help with that. A part of the reason of writing the book is there's a lot of people who go, we don't really know what you do. We just know you coach contractors. What does that mean? And we coach contractors on strategy in these various pieces of their business. And then we help them develop a mission each year and go with them through that mission to execute it and see them through and how make sure that it's successful. It is a bit of a unique thing. We do it one-to-one, like we're with you. And so ultimate goal of the book is to help contractors do their thing, give them the information they need to be successful. If they need more help, we're here for that as well. And hopefully, it sells, I don't know, more than 10 copies. It'd be cool.
Well, I think it'll make an ACS bestseller list, so we'll be sure to do our best to get it there. But I'm excited about it. I can't wait for it to come out. Do we have a release date yet, or not?
So it's out right now to 40 industry experts, mentors, and friends of mine that I have a large amount of trust and respect for. They've been piling through it. I think over the weekend there was like 150 some odd comments in it. I do know who's going to write the foreword. I'm not going to divulge that just yet, but I'm super excited about that. Just got the yes on that about 30 minutes ago.
Nice.
And so I want to make sure it's lock, stock, and barrel. I don't want to like say something and put him on the spot without him being 100% on board. And so this whole thing of putting it together in a way that truly helps people. That's the thing. Like that's the important part. And I do think it's unique. I do think there's unique concepts in there. I think there's a unique way of looking at them put together. I think it's going to be something that nobody's seen before. And I do want to give a shout out to somebody. Zach Kerr from Sales Rabbit was the inspiration for this book. There were several other people before that that said, hey, you should maybe write this book deal. And you said earlier, Jim Johnson sounds like a name of somebody that should write a bunch of books. And so he said, you should write a book about this. I said, man, it's a lot of information. I don't think I can fit in a book. He goes, well, and I can remember saying that at that time. He goes, well, write one like top level book and then 12 small books on each one of them. And I'm like, wow, man, that's a lot of writing. Where am I going to find that time? So now I know how to find the time. And And so that's probably where we're headed, is to write something like that, to get really into some of that detail and help people be successful. And while I was on that mountaintop, got a lot of other ideas on books to write as well.
That's awesome. I'm excited about it. There's going to be some awesome books coming out of this. And I keep saying this, but this is an industry changer. And this is one of those things that I think is going to be a catalyst to help us continue to evolve and grow as an industry. And I'm stoked about it. I love to see it. I'm thankful for people like you that, are putting yourself out there. I know it can't be, there's a level of vulnerability with that. And I think that I appreciate that, and I'm so thankful for you and for your friendship and for what you're doing in our industry. Thank you so much, Jim.
Oh yeah, it's weird. I sit there like, who am I to be an authority, right? Like there's that kind of feeling behind it. I'm not about the glory or me or any of that kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, there were several times in there somebody suggested you need to give a little bit more credibility of why you're writing this book. Sometimes that seems like I'm bragging, and it's not what it's about. It's about helping people. You asked timeline. I'm sorry I did not answer that question very well. Timeline. This week, everybody's going to be giving me some feedback and giving me some edits and stuff like that. I really want them to be more on concept than like where's a period and a comma and stuff like that. And then it's going to go to the editor. Editor are not cheap, I found out. So that editor is going to be taking care of getting it all lined up, formatted, right words and grammar and stuff, because that's not me. And we have a publisher, and that publisher will get their thing done. And it should be, if everything goes perfectly, which very rarely does, I'm hoping for a release around the end of September.
Awesome. Well. That's great time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then have the other book finished by the end of October, released by the end of November. That's the timeline, I hope.
Well, I can't wait. I'm excited about it, and I'm thankful that I got to read it. My last comment was going to be first at the very end, because my wife was watching me read this. Like, she was like, are you going to put this down? Like, what's your deal? I'm like, no, I want to be the first person to read this book all the way through to the end. And I was almost like literally this close to just writing first, and I was like, I'm not going to do it. But it was that good. I read it in a sitting. I was like, this is phenomenal. I can't.
Well, yeah, you read it in like 6 hours. What in the world have you been doing? Like, who reads a book in like just the same day? Man, is it too short? Like, that was my first thought. No, man, this thing's way too short. And but everybody else has been several days. So
no, I'm one of those freaks of nature. Like, I just get into it and I can't put it down. So I had to read the whole thing.
Good. I'm glad you liked it.
I was invested. No, I loved it. It was phenomenal. I encourage everyone to please reach out, find this book as soon as it comes out and is made available, so that you guys can just go through it. I mean, you'll find little nuggets in here that are going to change your entire business and change the way that you look at stuff. And so thank you so much, Jim, for that. And thank you for bringing it on the show first and letting us announce it and talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. It's my wife's super happy because after this, because I asked you want me to keep the beard? And you're like, yeah, keep the beard. And so as soon as this show's over, I'm going to go shave my beard, and that's the last anybody will see of it.
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much, man.
So I better
all right.
do my beard.
Well, thanks a lot, Jim. Thanks for hanging out with us today and for talking about this. I'm excited about it. I hope contractors watching will stay in touch. Make sure to follow Contractor Coach Pro on Facebook to keep tabs on what's going on. I'm sure the release dates will be posted there as soon as they are. We'll share them out as much as we can as well as soon as we get more information on it. But thank you so much for being a part of this today.
I don't think we ever specifically said the word of the book. Did we?
Oh, yeah. The name of the book?
The name of the book, yeah. So the name of the book is Work on It, Not In It. I want to be real specific about that. And there'll be a website there'll be all that stuff. So Work on It, Not In It. Don't forget about the name of that book.
Huge book. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, John, it's been my pleasure, man. As always, you are a beast on the mic. You do a great job with American Contractor Show, and super proud to be a part of it.
Hey, thank you for being a part of it, and we look forward to hanging out soon, man.
All right. Yeah, sooner rather than.
All right, brother.
All right.
Right? It's getting there. RoofCon's only a few weeks away, so we'll see you there.
I know. That's kind of crazy.
It is. So, all right, brother. Well, have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.
All right. So, folks, that was Jim Johnson. author of Work on It, Not in It book that is about to be released here shortly to our industry. This is one of the best things that has ever happened for us. And I think that Jim is one of the wisest, most well-known personalities when it comes to coaching and helping contractors grow. In fact, I know a lot of the contractors that he's worked with in the past or is working with and does coach, and they are doing phenomenal things. And so to see all of that being put into book form that can help contractors and change the way that you think and the way that you do your business, this is phenomenally this is a game changer. Like, this is something that we cannot ignore, and I think it's something that we shouldn't ignore. By the way, we should definitely jump all over this, because this is the kind of stuff that is going to help you produce more, build a better business, build a better culture, fundamentally improve the way that you're doing things, and make your business succeed in ways that are not even really measurable, but they should be. And that's why this book is being written. So thank you so much, Jim, for being a part of this. Thank you so much to our sponsors today. We are getting ready to head out to Iowa. Right after this is done, we're tearing all this stuff down and taking it with us for the contractor storm workshop that we're having in Cedar Rapids, Iowa tomorrow. And then we'll also be in Louisiana next week in Lake Charles doing another one of those events. If you haven't signed up yet, there's still a couple spots left, I think, for Iowa, for Cedar Rapids. And so we'd love to have you there, be a part of it. If you're nearby, come network, get to know some other contractors, and hopefully get you guys some great information, because there's some weird things going on in Iowa that you guys need to know about that could affect your business moving forward. So thank you so much to our sponsors, to Atlas. They're going to be providing some food tomorrow. C3 Group's going to be with us tomorrow. Excited to hang out with them. We really appreciate them sponsoring the show, as well as Contractor Coach Pro and Hail Trace. I think Derek's going to hop in there via webcam or some way tomorrow and talk a little bit about what the storm really does to properties, and how the weather side of it, the science behind it all. And thank you so much to RoofScope as well for sponsoring this program, guys. I look forward to seeing you. If I don't see you tomorrow in Iowa, we'll see you guys on Thursday for another amazing episode of the American Contractor Show. My buddy Ryan Groth is going to be with us, and I'm excited to see what he has to say and what we can learn from him. So thank you so much for being a part. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Have a great couple of days. Later. Thanks so much for watching today's show. Make sure to like and subscribe our pages so that you can stay up to date with every episode. And by the way, this show is all about you, the American Contractor. Be sure to comment, let us know what you want to hear about and what subjects you want us to touch on. We'll be sure to include them in a future episode. Thanks again, and I hope you have a great day.